Hi, this is Martin and welcome to another OpenInsight 10 video, not part of the Introduction to OpenInsight series. This one, I'm actually going to be doing something totally different. In fact, I'm not going to be doing anything at all. I'm handing over the YouTube channel to Andrew McAuley of Sprezzatura, who is going to take us through how the quick events in OpenInsight 10 have been extended and how they enable you to do far more in OpenInsight 10 than you could previously. And this came out of a requirement of mine, as Andrew will say in the video. It became a requirement of mine where I wanted to do something and I needed code to do it. And he said, hang on a second, I think we can probably do that in QuickEvents. And I went, yeah, of course. Literally a day or two later, he came back to me and said, we've done it. And he was going to do a blog posting, and I've persuaded him to do a video, and it's been done remotely. And I just want to say big thank you to Andrew for not only working out how to do what he's done, but also to doing the video for me. So sit back and enjoy. And this one is all about getting the most out of QuickEvents.
Hi everybody, Martin has persuaded me that the future is vlogs, so we thought it might be an idea to do this blog entry, which I've been trying to complete for the past week or so, as a vlog. Basically, I got fed up of screenshot after screenshot, knowing that if this was a video, we could just show you it very quickly. So we've been having a lot of fun recently, playing with OI 10 and looking at how much functionality the previously required code no longer requires code but can be achieved with quick events. One such challenge came up when Martin of RevSoft UK fame asked us to cut a piece of code for him. He's working on an example application and he wanted to be able to double click on a cell value in an edit table and have another entry form launch and populate with the clicked value. Before we actually started writing the code, we thought, wonder if this can be done with quick events. Well, if you're short of time and don't want to watch the rest of the vlog, yes, it can. You'll be happy to know that. If you've got a few minutes, let's show you how we did it. Those of you with a long memory will remember that back in ARev days, you used to be able to stack catalyst calls. And what was catalyst if it wasn't essentially a quick event? These days, we've got used to only being able to have one quick event on an event for a control, no stacking allowed. The good news is that with OI 10, you can essentially add up to 3 quick events to an event on a control. Admittedly, the user interface doesn't make it apparent that that's what's happening because of the naming conventions used, but that is what is happening. So to achieve what we want, we've got to examine the component parts, and that's basically, we've got to get the value that's been double clicked from the edit table. We've got to launch the child window, passing it in the value we've just got. We've got to grab that value and put it into the key control, and we've got to force the row to populate the form. Or in programming terms, get property, start window, set property, send event read. So let me quickly just show you what it is we're trying to achieve. Here's our bugs window, and down here we've got our edit table for the people who are going to be CC'd on emails. What I want to be able to do, moving between these things, is to double click on, say, Philip Kindred here, and launch the profiles maintenance with the full details, enable me to edit it if I wish to. Very straightforward. Didn't actually require much code, but the fact that we don't require any code in OI 10 is a definite step forward. So let's look at how we go about doing that. So I'll close my running form. No, I wouldn't like to save my changes, thank you. And I'm going to go to my bugs form. So I'm interested in this edit table down here, the CC edit table. And over on this side of the screen, we have our properties and events. I'm obviously interested in the event because I'm interested in what happens when I double click over here. So I go to events and I look down and I struggle to find the double click initially, but if I continue on down, we'll see that under mouse actions, I have a couple of double clicks now. I have a cell double click and a double click. The cell double click is a new event introduced in 10 that Carl has blogged in his RevDevX series. So I'd strongly recommend that you review that. So what we're going to do is add QuickEvents. To do that, we click on the property panel, in the event panel, in fact, and here we have an options button. Choose that, and my event panels open up. I have a quick event panel and I have an event script panel. I am interested in quick events, so to let it know that, I check this box. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the property that has just been double clicked. So this is going to be a get property. Now at this stage, dropping down here, I don't have the ability to do a get property as an option from the menu. So I'm going to execute a stored procedure. Notice this little has priority prompt. This is a cute thing. Traditionally, when you run a quick event, it happens at the end of the event chain. So if you just issued a read to the window, the system would go off, it would do the read, then it would do your quick event. If you issued a write, it would go off, do the write, then do your quick event. The problem with that is it means that you're always in a post situation. You're always after the event. If you want to make a pre-event, you can just simply say this does have priority, and now the quick event will execute before the system events, which is a nice little touch. So we've already told it going to execute a stored procedure. So the type execute stored procedure and the message execute have been disabled. I can't change them because that would be a conflict. We've told it we're going to execute a stored procedure. So it asks us what's our target. Click on my options prompt here, and it gives me a list of the stored procedures I have in this application. Well, get property is an inherited stored procedure executable. So I could either show inherited to get a list of everything, or I can just type in here get underscore property and OK that. The system fills into the target get property. So the stored procedure it's going to execute is get property. Now let's look at the parameters. Initially, it has the usual set of things you'd pass to a commuter module, but they aren't relevant here. So let's click here and open the dialog for entering our parameters. This is cute. Basically, this is something we pioneered with SList nearly 20 years ago. You look at the object code for the routine and you can work out what the past parameters are. So you create a dialog, or in this case, a panel, which says, okay, get property has 3 parameters passed to it. The object array, the property array, and the index array. So we're wanting to get the contents of the cell that have just been clicked. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, because the system doesn't know about get property as a shortcut, it's not as intelligent as it will be in the next release. But when I ask for the object array, it says, okay, do you want one of these context variables? Do you want one of the event parameters? So because I'm on a cell double click, I'm past the column number, the row number, the control key, the shift key, the mouse button. But what I'm actually interested in is my edit table CC. So let's OK that. And the property I'm interested in is the text property, because the text property is what I've just double clicked on. I'm not interested in an index array, so to be safe, I'll clear that down and I'll OK that. So now I've got what's just been double clicked on in the edit table. Next thing I want to do is I want to launch my window. So this type in the return value, and this is where I say it's perhaps slightly misleading, but what it's saying is, in the first bit, you may have got a value. In the event action, you may have got a value. Is there anything you'd like to do with that value you got? And I'm going to look here and say, I'd like to execute a repository method, please. It says, okay, what's your target? And it displays the open entity dialog and allows me to select what repository entry I would like to execute. So I scroll down, looking for my form executables. They're my form executables. And I would like to execute the profiles form. So, okay, that. It says, okay, I'm executing the profiles form. Are there any parameters you'd like to pass to it? Well, we know there are. We'd like to pass it what we've just got using our get property. So we say parameters. Again, it says, okay, the parameters are named command line, per WinID, modeless flag, instance. And those of you who are programmers will recognize those as being the parameters for start window. So I say, what would I like to pass over? I'd like to pass retval. Retval is what was returned from the event action. Very simply, I've got the value from the text property and I'm inserting retval into my call to the window. Okay, that. Now I simply save this with a Control S or the file save, and I close. That's the first half of it done. Now I want to work on my profile screen. The profile screen, all we need to do is put on a quick event on the create event. So come in here, don't want properties, want events, and we want the create event. Dialog again, quick event please. Come up here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to grab the parameter that we've been passed and we're going to put it into the def prop of the key prompt. We put it to the def prop because if we put it into the text property, the system won't know anything's changed, and when we tell it to do something, it'll say nothing's changed. Why do I do anything? So I come in here and I say what I'd like to do is I would like general. I would like to set a property. The target is going to be our key prompt. So if I come down here, edit field user ID is my key prompt. Now this is where I said earlier that OpenInsight is not currently aware about get property, but it will be aware of it in the next release. But it is aware about set property. That's one of our types we're allowed to do. So now it says, oh, you want to set a property of an edit field user ID. Hang on a minute. Let me just quickly ask an edit field control what properties it supports. So you get in there and various properties are there. What I want to set is the def prop property. And what is it I want to set the def prop to? I want to set it to param1, the create param. I OK that and OK that. So as you'll see from the tab at the top of the screen, we're currently working on the events for profiles. Sometimes, because we can have multiple events open within our IDE for a profile screen, a bug screen, and as they all look the same, we can get confused as to where we actually are. But in this case, we can see that in orange, profiles events at the top is what's highlighted. So we've got, from our create param, we've got the value we want to populate the user ID with, and we've set the def prop of that control. Now we're going to send an event to the current screen. So choose send an event, choose the options, and I'm going to send to @window. And what I'm going to send is the message read. So again, it says, hey, window control, what events do you support? window control says, here's a list of all events I support, and they get fed in here, and I can say, please do a read. Okay, that. Now, in a perfect world, this should work. So I'm going to save this, Control S, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to come back to my bugs form, and I'm going to run it. It appears a little low, so I'll move it up, and I will just come in and come down to my CC and say 1, 2, 3. I will double click on number 2, and it loads, but it doesn't read. And this is something I haven't quite got to the bottom of yet, but what's basically happening is this screen has got a default process on the key. And that default process is getting in the way of the read event. It's eating it up somehow. So let me close this down, and we'll come back to our form designer. Now, I wouldn't like to save changes. And if I go back into my profiles form and go back to my create event, and I found this out by a lot of trial and error. What I want to do here is I want to execute a stored procedure, and the stored procedure I wish to execute is yield. That doesn't take any parameters. And then in the third event, what I want to do is send an event, and I want to send it to the current window. And the event I wish to send it is read. Okay, that. Control S that. Close that. Come back to bugs, test run, bring it up. 1. Mix it up a bit. 3, 2, 1. Then double click on Philip Kindred, and it still didn't work. Okay, let's find out why. Probably profiles, Control S that. Yes, it's compiled. Control S that seems different. Right, so now let's try having added the yield to see if that works. So come into the screen. 1. Mix it up a bit. 2, 3, 1. Come back up and double click on number 3. And sure enough, it runs. So finally, just a little bit of experience here that bit me more than once. I went in and I wanted to change some of the quick events. So I went in here and I said, oh, I'd like to change the control I'm getting my info from, please. And no, I can't change any of this because it's disabled. When I first started doing this development, I'd log off and log back on and everything would be good. That got tedious very quickly. So what I realized was that if I come in here and I say, it's not send an event, it's set a property, it all gets re-enabled. Then I can come back and say, well, actually, yes, it is send an event. So I'm going to send to the window, but I'm going to send a QBF next, or whatever it is I'm going to send. So a lot of good functionality with absolutely no code. Hopefully you'll have found this useful, and I can assure you it's been so much quicker to do than a blog. So Martin may have finally persuaded me to amend my ways. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something. Take care.